Hey guys, have you ever thought about creating finished patches using just your embroidery machine but didn't know it was possible? Well, today I'm going to show you how I created this patch and attached it using just my embroidery machine and a couple other materials. So before we get started, I just want to remind you guys that if you have any questions or comments at all throughout the video, to leave a comment below and we will get back to you with an answer. And I also wanted to say a big thank you to everyone who has subscribed so far. If you're new here, welcome. If you haven't subscribed yet, go ahead and click the subscribe button now. And also want to remind you guys to turn on your notifications, so just click on the bell icon and then that'll let you know when we have posted a new video. All right, so now let's get back to talking about patches. So the traditional way to create patches is by embroidering the patch and then using a mirroring machine to create a nice, clean, sealed edge. Also, you will also need a sewing machine to attach the patch onto the garment. Now, of course, some of us only have an embroidery machine. We don't have that other technology. So you can still do it with your embroidery machine and just a couple other materials, and that's what this video is going to be all about. All right, so I have laid out the materials that we're going to be using to create our patches. So now let's quickly go over what they are. I have my size C hoop, I have my scissors and my snips for cleanup. I have temporary adhesive spray, 2 sheets of aqua topping, which is also called solvay or just any water soluble stabilizer. I'm using 2 sheets because this is a medium weight. You can also use 1 sheet of a heavyweight water soluble stabilizer. And then we have 1 piece of twill and 1 piece of cutaway. This is a medium weight cutaway. And then we have a little piece of paper for our ironing because we will be ironing on our patches. And then I have my heat and bond adhesive that's going to help iron our patch onto our garment. All right, so I'm going to get started by taking my piece of twill and my piece of cutaway stabilizer, and I'm going to layer the twill over the cutaway. And hoop it together. Just turning it over to verify that all sides of the hoop are tight and that it has been hooped tightly and that all areas of the backing cover the hoop. All right, so now that I have my piece of twill and cutaway hoop, I'm just gonna turn it over to the machine and it's gonna do its thing. All right, so here I have my patch design ready. We're going to stitch out the entire patch and then we're going to stop it right before the final satin stitch that's gonna tack it down, and then we're gonna show you the next step. All right, so I finished stitching out my patch, and as you can see, I don't have the final satin stitch, the tack down stitch, stitched out just yet. So first thing I'm gonna do is I'm going to unhoop my design and I'm going to cut it out. And be sure not to cut on the stitches because you don't want them to unravel. We're still gonna put this back in the machine one more time, so the satin stitch will cover up any pieces of fabric that are still showing. It's better to have some pieces of fabric still showing than to cut your threads. So you just cut very close to it, but don't cut your thread. Putting aside my scraps, and now I have my cut piece of patch material, and now I'm going to hoop my 2 sheets of aqua top stabilizer together. Okay, so now I'm gonna grab my hoop with my water soluble stabilizer and I'm going to put it in the machine, and we're going to do the final tack down stitch on this hoop with the water soluble stabilizer because that's going to help create a clean sealed edge. So let's bring it over to the machine again so you can see how it's done. So I returned the same exact design back to the origin. So we're going to start off again where we started with the running stitch. Now this is going to help mark the placement so I can know where to place my patch so we can do the final tack down stitch. So something I forgot to mention earlier, at this point in the process, you're going to want to set your machine on automatic manual so it can stop immediately after the first running stitch. If it's not on automatic manual, that's fine. You can leave it on automatic, but then you're just gonna have to monitor the machine and make sure that it stops immediately after the first color stop. Next, I'm gonna spray some temporary adhesive spray onto the back of my patch. Be mindful when you're spraying to just spray lightly because this is a aqua top. So, and you're also going to be using heat, so you don't want to get that adhesive to get all sticky. So let's offset our frame. And now we're going to place the patch directly onto the hoop right where the running stitch is marked. All right, so now that we have that placed directly where the running stitch is, don't forget to put your frame back in. All right, so now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna fast forward through the color stops because remember I'm using the same design. So I started off with my running stitch. So now I wanna fast forward through the fill stitch and the bee. So I'm just gonna go ahead and fast forward using my panel. So I'm gonna click on this option until it gets me this icon that says add. And then I'm going to touch this icon right here that has an arrow pointing to the right, and that's going to fast forward through each stop. So here you see it went through the first, and the next, and the next, and the next. So let's go back to right here. That's where we want to start, where our tack down stitch is. So now we're ready to go ahead and press start. All right, so as you can see, I have my completed patch. Now I'm just going to unhoop it and it will pop right out. Next up, you should do some cleaning. If you have any excess thread, just go ahead and carefully cut it out. And now I want to remind you guys to take off the aqua top topping, backing in this instance. And we use 2 sheets, so remember to take both out because you don't want this to melt when it's under heat. So the backing is removed. Now we're gonna go on to applying the iron-on adhesive. So I'm gonna take my sheet of heat and bond. You can see there's a papery side, and then when you peel it, there's going to be like a film. So there are a couple ways of applying this. It really just depends on how fast you want to get it done. There's one way that you can apply it and it can be ready to go for your customers to attach on anything with an iron. And then there's another way, if you're going to do this yourself, that you can apply it much faster onto whatever garment. So I'm going to show you the way that you can apply it onto any garment. First off, you're going to want to cut to size. And it's okay if you cut a little bit inside because you want it just to be slightly smaller. So try cutting just a tiny bit inside already. And you want it to be slightly smaller so that it doesn't show through your garment on the other side. So let's do a quick test and see if that's okay. And just clean up any edges that you think will go over. All right, so now that we have it cut out, one way you can do it is to peel it off and place it right above your garment, and then place your patch, and then place a piece of paper. This is heat resistant, so you can go ahead and put your iron on it and just heat set it in. That's one way you can do it if you're just going to do it yourself and not send it already made to a customer. So I'm going to show you now a way that you can send it already made to your customer. So if you want to send it already made to your customer, This is good if you have like an Etsy or if you have customers who are going to attach their own patch. You want to send it pre-made. You just want them to be able to just iron it right on. All right, so basically what we're going to do is that we're going to lay the patch with the back side up. And we're going to get this piece of heat and bond, and the part where there's paper, you're going to want it to face you. So you want that little shiny part, the film, to face the patch. And now I'm just going to go over again with paper because I don't want to ruin this shirt that I'm working on. And this is literally just the exact same paper that the heat and bond came with. So you can keep it and reuse it. So I'm just going to press. There's no need to move it around. All right, so we're going to apply heat to it for a little bit. Let's check on it, and that looks like it adhered. So oof, be careful because it's hot. So now just let it cool a little bit, and that's going to do the final setting into the patch. So I like this method. This is the correct method of doing it, and I like this method a little bit better than just laying it on like this and then putting the paper. Because like this, if you put the paper over and you're applying heat, then you can ruin your stitches, and also like the glue, temporary adhesive glue that you used might melt and kind of show through. So I think this is the best way of doing it. And you can combine this method that I showed you and then just go over once more with the iron, which is basically what your customers would be doing if you send it to them like this with this sticker already in the back. So you would send it to them. So if you were sending this to your customer, you would send it to them like this, and then just send like instructions or a video on how to put it onto your garment. Okay, so once it cools down, you should be able to just peel it off, and then the film would have adhered to the patch. So let's see how that turned out. Great, so I'm able to just peel it right off, and this is just the paper now. And if you look closely, the film is adhered to the patch. So now I'm going to go ahead and put it on over the garment. So this is what your customers would be doing if you send it to them like this, ready-made. So I'm just going to place it, and I'm placing it sideways like this because that's how the Bitcoin patch is. So that looks good. And now we're gonna take our little piece of paper, and your customer can use this paper if you want to send it to them. If you want to send it to them a larger little piece, that would also be helpful, but they can use just basically any heat resistant paper as well. I've seen some people also send to their customers just a circle already cut out of the heat and bond, and then they just give instructions to do the step that I just previously did. But I think it's better to send it to them like this already made. All right, so now let's put our paper on top, and this will be the final step. And again, there's no need to move around, just press. This patch looks ready to go. So you want to let it cool just for a little bit before you start tugging on it, because if it's hot, it'll still move around. So just let it cool for a little while. All right, so after I've let it cool, as you can see, it's not coming off. So, and I'm pulling on it pretty significantly. So this is our final shirt, a Bitcoin shirt ready to wear. So why do you want to create patches? One, because you can send them to customers to customize their own thing. Or you might want to get into areas that you can't get into with the regular hoop. Now for this, of course, with this shirt, you can get in with the regular hoop. But let's say you were doing sleeves that you couldn't get into unless you had an alien one, then patches are a really good alternative. So this is another way to do it if you're not sending it to customers. I'm going to show you that way. You're just going to basically layer all the materials on top. So here we have the heat and bond. I already took off the sticker, and then I just have the little film right here. So it doesn't matter really what side you use. You can just grab your patch, your heat and bond, layer your shirt, your heat and bond, and your patch. And you can do this also with applique material, with any fabric if you want to adhere fabric to another piece of fabric. Lay your paper on top, and set it with heat. All right, so I just wanted to show you guys that you can also do it this way. It's kind of faster if you're doing it for yourself and you're not sending it to customers. And you can also just send it to your customers like with the piece of paper, and then they can just do it like this too. So basically whatever you think works best for you. But yeah, those are the two methods that you can get your patches on created with your embroidery machine onto your finished garments. All right, so here we have our finished Bitcoin patch adhered onto this t-shirt. So go ahead and let us know in the comments if you guys are into Bitcoin, if you know what it is, or if you have absolutely no idea what it is or what it's all about. Neither do I. So if you can relate, just leave us a comment below. But you know, if you know anything about it, let us know. All right, so with that being said, if you like this video, please make sure to hit the thumbs up button below and to subscribe to our channel. And I also want to take the time to invite you guys to our Facebook community. It's called Embroidery and Custom Apparel Mastery. And you can go ahead and click join. I have linked the group below. And basically you just go in there, you can ask any questions, chat with me, chat with thousands of other embroiders. They have really great tips for you. And also if you have your own great tips to share, then go in there and give your best advice. All right, so I'll see you guys there. Thanks for watching.